You were told to open up, to be soft, to share your heart. They fed you lines like, be her rock, be her peace, be the good guy. And you tried. You did. You listened. You were present. You were vulnerable. You gave. But now, here you are, ignored, ghosted, discarded, watching the same woman who once melted in your presence suddenly obsess over a man who doesn't even text her back. And deep down, you feel it. Something's off. Something's broken. That quiet, uncomfortable truth starts whispering, none of this works. Because it doesn't, not in the world we live in. Calvin Reed didn't write Women Magic Lure for guys still living in the fairy tale version of relationships. He wrote it for the man who's been through it, who's been lied to, left on red, used up, and emotionally gutted. This isn't a book of sweet lines. It's a mirror. It shows you the truth you've been told never to say out loud. Women don't fall for kindness. They fall for power, for gravity, for a man who doesn't need their love to feel complete. That might sound harsh, but look around. The guy she dreams about isn't the one writing love letters. It's the one who stands tall, unfazed, like applause is irrelevant to him. You were taught to prove your worth. But the second you start chasing her, you flip the dynamic. You're not the prize anymore. You're just the eager puppy hoping for attention. And here's the ugly truth. Women don't sleep with puppies. They pet them, praise them, and then leave them behind for the wolf. The one who doesn't ask. The one who commands attention just by being. This is where Reed drops the hammer. Never chase. Because the moment you do, you stop being the thing she's drawn to. You start being something she manages. You want her to crave you? Then stop craving her. Build something so rich, so alive, that she wants to revolve around your world, not because you begged, but because you built. Not because you gave her compliments, but because you gave her direction, silence, focus, and depth. You're still operating under the belief that love is about equal effort. That if you give enough, open up enough, love enough, she'll stay. But women don't fall for effort. They fall for energy. That unshakable presence. That stillness. That calm detachment of a man who knows he can walk away without a second thought. That's the man she can't forget. That's the man who haunts her thoughts. Reed exposes the lie most men live inside. That love is fair, that if you give, you get. But relationships aren't built on even trades. They're built on dynamics, psychological ones. Who holds the power? Who pulls? Who disappears first? Here's the brutal twist. Women already understand this. They've been trained to. Since they were young. Don't be too available. Don't show all your cards. Make him work. Make him invest. Because the one who invests more becomes more emotionally indebted. Not out of evil, but instinct, survival. And while she's playing chess, you're playing checkers, texting first, texting often, pouring your heart out too soon, laying yourself bare like it's some noble act. But she's not reading your words like a love letter. She's scanning them for weakness, not to hurt you, but to assess you. Can she shape you? Can she guide you? Can she own your attention? And if she can, game over. You're no longer a mystery. You're a mirror. And no woman is captivated by a mirror. She wants a mountain. Something she can't move. Something that stands. You think vulnerability will build intimacy. But it doesn't. It dismantles polarity. When you reveal every fear, every need, every childhood wound, you're not bonding. You're surrendering the very thing that made her wonder about you in the first place. Your edge. That's what Women Magic Lure shows so clearly. You thought openness meant strength, but opening up too soon is just volunteering your playbook. You think you're getting closer, but you're just giving away the game. She didn't ask for your soul. And once she's seen every inch of it, the chase is done. Not because she's cruel, because the mystery is dead. And what's dead doesn't spark desire. Women are biologically wired to desire uncertainty. Not chaos, but masculine unpredictability. The man who's grounded, still, elusive, not absent, but controlled. The one who reveals little, who doesn't flood her with emotion, but anchors her through it. That's the man who burrows into her subconscious. The man she can't stop thinking about, not because of what he says, but because of what he doesn't. You've been taught that connection comes from confession. The more you give her, the more she'll love you. But women don't trust words. They trust energy, direction, detachment. When your energy says, "Please love me," she doesn't feel admiration. She feels something far colder, disgust. Not because she's cruel, but because biology punishes need. Need smells like desperation. It signals dependency. It tells her, "I need you to complete me. I can't fix myself. Please fix me." And women can sense that from a mile away. They don't want to be your therapist. They don't want to be your savior. They want to admire you. But you killed the spark by needing her to be something she was never meant to be. And here's where the irony bites. When you worship her, you think you're showing love. But what you're doing is giving away power, emotional authority. And when she holds that power, she doesn't feel honored. She feels burdened. She starts resenting you. Because no woman wants to be the man in the relationship. She might act like it. She might say she wants control. But deep down, she's silently begging you, take the reins back. She'll test you. She'll push you. Not because she's cruel, but because she's looking for your backbone. She wants to know that something inside you doesn't move. That's when she storms, you don't fold. That's what creates attraction. Not equality, not harmony, not endless emotional sharing, but friction. Not chaos, polarity. You are not her twin flame. You're supposed to be the fire. Here's where so many men trip over the line. They think love is this peaceful garden of equality, where feelings bloom equally and everything's fair. But attraction? That's a jungle. It's primal. And primal instincts don't care about fairness. They care about contrast, polarity, the dance between stillness and emotion, between grounded strength and unpredictable waves. She's not consciously playing a game, but she is testing. Always testing. Why? Because it's not about control. It's about certainty. She withdraws not to hurt you, but to feel your pull. She pushes boundaries not because she wants to break them, but because she wants to know they exist. She wants to feel they'll hold up under pressure, that you'll hold under pressure. You take it personally. You think it's a punishment. It's not. It's a measurement. Women don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with presence, immovability, that rare masculine security that whispers, "I'm here. I'm whole, with or without you." And not in a fake tough guy way. Not in that overcompensating alpha act. Number. In the quiet, calm certainty that says, "I am enough. You can add to me, but you don't complete me." That's the difference Reed highlights. It's the line between a man who chases and a man who attracts. The one who wants her, but doesn't need her. The man who was chosen not because he begged, but because he stood still while everyone else ran toward her. Your abundance is your leverage. Let that sink in. When a woman senses that your world is already full, with purpose, mission, vision, and options, she leans in. Not because of your sweet words, but because of the mystery she can't crack. She starts to ask, why isn't he obsessed with me? Why isn't he texting first? Who is he talking to? That curiosity becomes gravity. And you become the lure. Not because you're playing games, but because you finally stopped putting her on a pedestal. You stopped centering your identity around being chosen. And instead, you became the chooser. But most men flip this. They meet a beautiful woman and immediately start rearranging their life. They cancel plans. They stop grinding. They blur boundaries. And then when she pulls away, they're shocked, hurt, angry. But what did you expect? You handed her the keys to your kingdom before she even earned an invitation inside. And women don't respect what they didn't have to earn. They don't admire access that's just given. They crave challenge, standards, gates. Not because they're mean, but because effort validates value. If she didn't work for it, why would she respect it? Reed doesn't say to be rude. He says be rare. Be rare in your silence. Be rare in your availability. Be rare in your need for constant reassurance. Because that's what stands out. Not the man who overshares, but the man who says very little and yet gets heard the loudest. Women have seen compliments. They've seen attention. What they haven't seen, a man who sees them, who isn't just captivated by their beauty, but curious about what lies behind it. That's the guy who sticks. That's the man who rewrites her blueprint for attraction. The one who doesn't play by the rules. He is the rule. And no one's going to teach you this in school, or therapy, or on your social feed, because it ruins the nice guy illusion that's so easy to market. They'll tell you you're failing because you're too emotional. But that's not it. You're failing because you gave up your edge. You were taught that balance builds connection, that matching her softness will make her feel safe. But in doing that, you vanished. You blended into her. And she took your place as the masculine energy in the relationship by default. She became the rock, and you became the wave. And no woman wants to make love to her reflection. She doesn't want to hold you like a fragile thing. She wants to feel held by something immovable. That doesn't come from you weeping into her lap. It comes from knowing, deeply, unapologetically, who you are, without her. Reed doesn't sugarcoat it. Women don't want your soul, they want your center. They want to know your axis is unshakable, especially when they try to shake it. And yes, they will shake it. Not to destroy you, but to verify you. They want to know, is this real? Can I trust him? Will he stand when I push? If you fold at the first storm, if your calm turns into apology, into compromise, into appeasement, you've failed the test. And desire dies in that failure. Appeasement is the death of desire. She doesn't want a yes man. She wants a hell no man. One who can draw a line, not through rage, but through presence. Who doesn't have to yell to be heard. Who doesn't have to prove anything to feel powerful. Women remember those men, not because they were perfect, but because they were clear. And that's what most guys don't want to hear. She doesn't want to lead. She'll pretend she does. Culture has told her she should. But the moment you hand over the reins, she starts losing attraction. Fast. She doesn't want to steer the relationship. She wants to feel your direction, even when she's resisting it. Because deep down, feminine energy doesn't want to control. It wants to surrender. But it can't surrender to a man with no structure, no core, no spine. Reed puts it sharply. If you give her the wheel, don't be surprised when she drives away. Not because she wanted to, but because you left her no reason to stay. So what's the move now? You've heard the truth. You've felt it hit. Not like a gentle wake-up, but like a freight train through the illusions you've been clutching your whole life. All that advice you soaked in. Be kind. Be open. Be soft. Be her emotional safe space. It wasn't entirely wrong, but it was incomplete. It was missing the part that Calvin Reed's women magic lure refuses to hide. You were taught to please, but not to lead. You were taught to open your heart, but not to protect your soul. And that's why you've been losing. Now, you stop. You stop living like your worth is something women give you. You stop searching for your identity in how someone else sees you. You stop defining your masculinity by how often you're needed, wanted, or desired. You stop pouring all of your ambition into the hope that one day a woman will finally love you enough to make you feel whole. That's not her job. It never was. You've got to become the man who fills his cup, not the man who waits with an empty one, hoping someone notices. You build, you sharpen, you evolve. You become so deeply entrenched in your mission, your movement, your code, that validation becomes irrelevant, not because you don't care, but because your care is no longer for sale. That's when women start orbiting. That's when they feel the gravity shift. When you no longer chase, when you no longer perform, when your center becomes rooted in something greater than their approval, you become the kind of man they remember, not the one they manipulate, not the one they test and discard, but the one they dream about when the world goes quiet. Reed doesn't hold back. He tells you plainly, most of your romantic pain isn't about her leaving. It's about the void she left behind. That hollow space that used to be filled with someone's attention, someone's affection, someone's presence. And when that presence disappeared, so did your sense of self. That's the core of the problem. It's not her walking away. It's that you had nothing left when she did. And that, my brother, is your fault. You made her your sun. You built your entire emotional ecosystem around her light. And when she dipped below the horizon, you had no sky, no stars, no compass. You didn't just lose her. You lost yourself. That's the raw truth Calvin Reed forces you to confront. But here's the twist. Here's the part that stings and heals at the same time. That breakdown? It's the best thing that could have happened to you. Because now you see, now you know, now you're awake. You can stop performing, stop apologizing, stop crafting your entire identity around being enough for a woman who never asked you to abandon yourself in the first place. You stop being tame, stop being agreeable, stop trying to barter your emotional vulnerability in exchange for loyalty or love. Because what you were calling love was just pacification. Just scraps of comfort handed to a man too afraid to face the mirror. But now the illusion's broken. And here's the final, brutal, necessary truth. The one most men will never accept. Women are not the enemy. They're not the villains in this story. The problem isn't them. It's the fantasy you built around them. It's the idealized image you forced into your head. The one where they complete you, save you, rescue your manhood from the ashes. But no one's coming to save you. And they shouldn't have to. Because the moment you stop needing her to complete you, you complete yourself. Not in a fluffy self-love slogan, not in vague spiritual affirmations, but in the gritty, fire-forged way that a man becomes whole through discipline, through pain, through perseverance, through choosing to stand alone and liking the view. That's the pivot point. That's the transformation. When you stop looking for identity in relationships and start finding it in results, in clarity, in direction, you stop being forgettable. You stop being replaceable. You stop being someone she dates and become someone she respects, even if she never says it. Especially if she never says it. Because respect doesn't come from confession. It comes from conviction. It comes from saying no without guilt. From walking away without hesitation. Leading without having to be liked. When you master that, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a toxic, manipulative way, but dangerous in a way that makes people take notice when you walk into a room. Dangerous in the way that shakes a woman's soul, not because you're loud or aggressive, but because you're solid, you're silent, you're centered. That's what masculine energy is. It's not about being louder. It's about being still. It's not about control. It's about presence. And when a woman feels that presence, she either rises to meet it or walks away. But either way, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't bend, because the man who is complete doesn't need to be chosen. And ironically, that's exactly the kind of man she can't forget. So here's your call. Not to hate women, not to manipulate them, not to play some dark psychological chess game. Your call is to reclaim yourself, to stop giving away your power in exchange for attention, to stop outsourcing your emotional identity to someone else's affection, to stop bleeding worth into hands that were never meant to hold it. Women Magic Lure isn't a book about pickup lines. It's not a script. It's not a tactic. It's a mirror, a war map, a guide to psychological sovereignty. It's the kind of truth that doesn't cuddle you. It calls you out. It dares you to become something rare. A man who walks like he doesn't chase, who speaks like silence is his language, who loves like he's not afraid to lose. That's when the game ends. Because once you stop trying to win her, that's when she loses her mind, wondering how to win you. That's when the energy flips. That's when attraction becomes obsession. Because the man who doesn't need to be chosen, he's the one no one ever forgets. And that, brother, is how you win. Not through performance, but through presence. Not through promises, but through power. Not through begging, but through being. If this message hit you, if something stirred inside you that you can't ignore anymore, then don't. Share this video, like and subscribe to support the channel. Because of this message, it's not just for you. It's for every man you know who's still stuck in the lie. Stay sharp, stay focused, stay free. The world doesn't need more approval-seeking men. It needs more unshakable ones.